Hello, in this lesson we are going to discuss varieties of things. If you look at my table of content, we have some functions here. We have the if function, we have the COUNTIF function, we have the COUNTIFs, the SUMIF, the SUMIFs, the AVERAGEIFs, and the IFERROR. Just sit back and watch this amazing video as we are going to be taking them one after the other. Now let's look at some of the examples of this if function now. Now, if you look at the question I have on here, the data set, now we have students, these are serial number, names. Now, to know the numbers of the students, now shift control arrow down. We have 140 students, shift control arrow up. Now, these are their names, their class. Now, grade 9A to what? Grade 9. You can see to grade 9F, shift control arrow up back. Now we have their first CA, which is over 15, and their second CA, which is what? Midterm, that's over 20, and they have their what? Examination, which is 65. And we want to grade them for the what? What Adebayo Ismail scored over 100, and for others. Now, how did I do that now? Bring my cursor here. If I bring my cursor here, equals to sum. Click on it. Now, what will be our first number? This is our first number. Hold your shift, arrow right. Now, close parenthesis, click on enter. That's the what? Overall score of Adebayo Ismail over 100 now. Now, Adebayo Ismail scored 62.25 over 100. Now, if I bring my cursor back here now, if I click on this small box here, it has actually calculated for the rest. Now, shift control arrow down, shift control arrow up. Can you see now to the last number here is 140, Basirat Ibrahim, grade 9F. Now it has actually calculated for what? Basirat Ibrahim, and scored 98.5 over 100. Shift control arrow up. Now I want to grade them. Now I want to grade from Adebayo Ismail to what? Basirat Ibrahim, and I want to give them Remark and rank. Now this is where my if functions comes in. How will I grade them now? Well, I'll be grading them based on this what? This criteria we have here. We said 80 to 100 is A, and for the remark, anyone that has A should be given excellent. Now 70 to 79 is B, for the remark is distinction. 60 to 69 is C, remark is very good. 55 to 59 is D, the remark is good. 50 to 54 is E, the remark is what? Pass. 0 to 49 is F, and what? The remark is fail. Now, this is where my if function comes in, like I said earlier. Now, equals to if, click on it. Now, this will be our logical text. We have different criteria for this if function. We have the greater than, the less than, the greater than or equals to, less than or equals to. Now, let's use the greater than here now. Shift, hold your shift, greater than. If what we have here is greater than, we have 80 to 100, right? That if it's greater than 80, comma, in quotes, since it is text, double quotes, grade in A. When you are using your if function, if you are dealing with text, now you put it in quotes. If you are dealing with figures, you don't put it in quotes. Take note of that, comma. Now bring out the if function again. If what we have here is greater than 70, comma, in quotes. Now grade in B, comma, if, that's how we'll keep doing it until we get to the last one. If what we have here, our logical test, is greater than 60, comma, grade in more R, C, comma, if what we have here is greater than 55, comma, in quotes, grade in D, close the quotes, comma, if, click on it, our logical test is still this, is greater than 50, comma, in quotes, grade in E, comma, and for the last one, since it's the last one, you can just put it in quotes, F, Now if you look at this now, how many brackets did I open? How many parentheses did I open? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to close all the 5 back again. Hold your shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now click on enter. Can you see now 62 to 62.25 falls in the category of what? Of 60 to 69, which is C. That's how to what? To grade using the if function now. Now if I bring my cursor here, if I double click on it now, it has actually graded others too. Shift control arrow down now. Can you see now? Up to what? Basirat Ibrahim, which has what? 98.5 and which is A. Now shift control arrow up. Now I want to what? I want to give them remark. Now I will still use my if function again. If. Now click on it. What will be our logical test? This will still be our logical test. Greater than. We are on the greater than sign. Now it is greater than 80, comma, in quotes, excellent, comma, if, click on it. Now our logical test is greater than 70, comma, in quotes, grading distinction, comma, if, click on it, our logical test is greater than 60, comma, in quotes, very good, comma, if our logical test is greater than 55, comma, in quotes, that's good, comma, and the last one, you can just put fail since it's the last one, in quotes, fail. Now I open 5 parentheses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click on enter. Sorry, if greater than excellent, greater than distinction, greater than 60, very good. Okay, I think there's a mix up somewhere. So it has actually give you what? The remark. Now, if I click on it now, I bring my cursor here. If I click on it, it has actually calculated for the what? For the rex. So that's how to use what? If function based on the what? Based on the greater than operation. Now, how do we? I want to rank this now equals to. I'll bring out my rank formula. Rank. Now click on it. I want to rank based on this what? This number again, comma. Now what will be our reference ID? I want to rank from here. Shift control arrow down. Now close parenthesis. Now instead of me to be calculating it one after the other, if I said, just observe something now. If I click on enter now, you can see now it has actually ranked these numbers now based on this what reference order. Now if I want to double click now, you will see, just observe, it will give me an error now. If I double click now, now sometimes if you double click, it can give you an error. The best way to do it is that you just come here. Once you calculated for the first one, just highlight this reference order. Now on your keyboard now, you will see FN F4. Just fix it, or F4 depending on the setting of your system, and click on enter. It's still the same thing. It will surely, and once you click on it, it will surely automatically calculated for the what? For the rest. That's how to what? That's how to rank. And we've used the what? If function for the what? Greater than, and we've used the if function based on the what? Greater than operation to calculate the grade and the remark. And we use the sum for what? To calculate the total. Now if you look at this second example now, shift control arrow down, shift control arrow down. Now if you look at this second example now, it's quite different from what we actually solved earlier. We have name here, we have Bayo, Shola, James, Ray, Dayo, Mike, Shayo and Moyo. They are new clients. Bayo has 45 clients, Shola has 12, James has 5, Ray has 50, Dayo has 52, Mike has 32, Shayo has 19 and Moyo has 25. Now I want to what? I want to give them bonus based on their performance of their new client report to this organization. Now how will I do that using the if function? Now let's calculate their bonus now. To calculate their bonus, I'll bring out my what? If now. If, click on it. Now this will be our logical text. If it is, hold your shift, hold your greater than sign. It is greater than what? 40, comma. Give him or her a bonus of what? 4,000, comma. If, click on it, is greater than or equals to 20,000. Sorry, 20, comma. Give him or her a bonus of what? 2,000 naira. Others 0. Close parenthesis. How many brackets did I open? This is one bracket, this is the second bracket. Now take note, assuming this figure we have here now, this our what? True and value true test is what? True or false test now is in what? Is in text. We'll just what? We'll put it in quotes at the front here and at the back here. Now take note of that. Since they are in figure, so we don't need to put them in quotes. This 2,000 and this 4,000. Now once we close our parentheses, you click on enter. Can you see now? It has actually calculated for what? For Bayo, which has 45 clients, because the condition stated that what? If it is above 40, give him or her a bonus of what? 4,000 naira. Now if I bring my cursor here on this small box now, it will surely automatically calculate for the rest. Now the reason why this 19 and 5 and 12 is having zeros is that because they are less than what? Than 20. The last condition I stated here states what? If it is greater than or equals to 20, give him what? 2,000. So that's how to do that. Now if you look at this now, it's quite different from what we did here now. Just take notes. Now we have Bayo clients and I want to rate them now. I'll just bring out my if now again. If, click on it, what we have here, this logical test is greater than, let's use that again, similar to what we did here, it's greater than 40, comma, or let's say this time around, let me drag my cursor down a bit. If it is greater than, let's say 30, comma. Now in quotes, we are using text this time around. Give him what? Good. Quote it back, comma. If, click on it, what we have here is what? Greater than or equals to, let's say 25, comma. Give him fair, comma, others in quotes, since we are using text, fair in quotes, comma, others poor. Now how many brackets did I open? This is one bracket, this is another one, that's the second one. I opened two parentheses, close it, click on enter. Can you see it now? If I double click now, it has actually what? Calculated for others because they are less than 25. That's why it's giving them poor. Now 50 is good, 12 is poor, 35 is good, 40 is good. That's how to do that. Now let's calculate this bonus. Now for this bonus, I'll be using the ifs, not if this time around. Now equals to ifs, click on it. Now you check whether one or more conditions are met and return a value corresponding to the what? To the true condition. That's what the ifs actually does. Check whether one or more conditions are met and returns the value corresponding to the what? To the first true condition. Now let's see it now. The other time here I use the if. Now this time around I'm using the ifs now. Now our logical test will be this. Now if it is greater than, let's say 40, comma. Now what will be the value if true? If true. Now 4,000, comma. Now instead of bringing out the ifs again, I'll just continue. Greater than, let's say greater than 30, comma, say 2,000 for the bonus. Now if what is this greater than shift, sorry, greater than 20, or let's say 25, comma, give him 1,000 for their. Now the last one, now if is less than or equals to, is less than or equals to 18, comma. Now give him what? 0, close parenthesis. Now in the case of the if, now I can, if it were to be if, now this will have been one bracket, another parenthesis, that's 2, another one, that's 3. Now I'll have closed 3 parentheses, but in the case of the ifs, now I will only close 1 parenthesis now, and those operations I'm using now, I can use them as much as possible so far one of the condition met, the one of the requirements or the condition met. Now click on enter. Now look at it. Now this is more than or equals to 40 now, so that's why we have 2,000 here. If I double click on it now, can you see now? The reason why we have 0 here is because we said last condition now, if it is less than or equals to 18, giving what? 0. These ones are less than or equals to 18. This one is less than 18, and is less than 18. This one is actually 18, so that's why we ask 0. So that's how to use the ifs and the if. Now let's use the if and together now this time around. Now for the if and, now I'll just bring out my function again. If, click on it. I said we are using the if and together, right? If and. Now I'll be using this rating and what? And the client together this time around. Now this will be our logical test. If it is greater than, let's say 30, comma. Now because we are using the if and conditions together, now if it is greater than 30, if what is here is what, let's say greater than 5 or greater than, let's say 8, close the bracket, comma. Now what condition do we want to give them? Now you now bring it out in quotes. Let's say yes or good. If not, poor. If what we have here is greater than 30 and at the same time the rating is greater than 8, now give him or her what? Good. If not, give him or her poor. Click on enter. Can you see it now? What we have here is one of the condition here, it met our requirement. Also the condition here met our requirement, and you can see now we have what? We have our answer here. So our formula is actually working. Now if you look at this question, it's quite different from what we have been solving before. We have nested if and or operation now. Now we have revenue greater than 15,000, then good. Revenue greater than 15,000 or less than 20,000, then good. Revenue greater than 15,000 and less than 20,000, then good. Revenue greater than or equals to 20,000 is exceptional. Rest is value. Now revenue greater than or equals to 20,000 or less or equals to 15, then flag. Now these are the names of the company we have here. We have Dangote Flour Mill, Boa Corn Oil, Excel, Glo, MTN, TZT, Jumia and Nestle. Now these are their revenue. Now let's solve this now. Let me centralize. Now to solve this now, I will bring out my if function. If, click on it. Now this will be our logical test. That's what we are working on. It is greater than. Now the 15,000, I will reference this cell. Since I'm referencing that cell, I will fix it. Take note of that. Now, so that I can calculate for the rest, F and F4, or you make use of your what? F4 directly, depending on the setting of your system, comma. Now, next one, value if true. Now, I will have just say that shift, old quotes, good, and quote it back, comma, but I want to reference this cell. That's why I won't be using this. Now, in a situation whereby I said it earlier that anytime you have a text in a formula, make sure you always put it in what? In quotes. Now, I want to reference that cell, so I won't be using this good in that way. I'll just come here, I'll fix it back again, Fn F4. Now, comma, if not, then in quote. This means not, then no, if then it is not what? It is not greater than what? 15,000. That means if it's nothing less than 15,000, just put it what? Empty. That's the meaning of this double quote you are saying. Hold your shift, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? It's actually what? Because if you look at 11,649, it's actually less than 15,000. That's why we have the cell blank here. If I bring my cursor here and drag it down now, can you see now? Those ones that they are greater than what? 15,000 actually has what? Good. These ones that are less than 15,000 has nothing. Can you see it now? Look at this place. Look at here. Look here. 14,432. 11,022. So definitely our formula is actually working. Now let's calculate for this second column. Now if you look at this question for this second column, we said revenue greater than 15,000 and less than 20,000, then give it what? Good. That means if the revenue falls in between what? 15,000 to 20,000, then it's still good. But if it is less than 15,000, give it what? Nothing. Now how do we do that? In this situation now, we'll be using the if and the what? And the and function, like what I did here. Now let's bring out our formula now. Equals to if, click on it. Now and, since we are using our and together, now our logical test will be this. Now greater than, said if it is greater than 15,000, this is 15,000 here. Now F and F4 to fix it, so that we can calculate for the rest, comma. We'll bring out this function again. If we don't need to bring out our if function again, since we are using if and together, less than 20,000. Now these are 20,000, F and F4 or F4 directly to fix it, depending on the setting of your system. Now close parenthesis, comma. Now value, if value is what? True, give it what? In quotes. Don't forget, once you use text in what? In formula, you put it in quotes, comma. If not, double quote. Now see these two quotes I used here. That means if not, give it what? Else give it nothing. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? This is less than what? 15,000. That's why we have nothing here. Now let me bring my cursor here and drag it down. Let's see. You can see it has actually calculated for the rest. Now the reason why we don't have anything here is less than 15,000. Reason why we don't have anything here is less than 15,000. This is also less than 15,000, but this is greater than what? 20,000, and this is also greater than 20,000. But the condition states here that what? If the revenue is greater than what? 15,000, but less than what? 20,000. So that's why we don't have anything for this 30,000 and 20,400. You can see our formula is actually working. Now, if you look at this next question now, revenue greater than 15,000 and greater than and less than 20,000. Now, then good. Greater than 15,000 and less than 20,000, then good. Now, comma, revenue greater than or equals to 20,000 is exceptional. Rest is value. Can you see this is quite different from what we have been solving before? Now, let's see to this now. Now, let's solve this question now. Sorry. Now, it's quite similar to what we did here now. If click on it, now our logical test will be this. Now, it is greater than 15,000. Sorry. If and click on it, our logical test will be this. Now, if it is greater than 15,000, now this is it. Fn F4, comma. Now, if what is here is less than 20,000, Fn F4. Now, close parenthesis, comma. Give it what? Good, in quotes. Good, comma. Now, you can see now our first value if first. Now, I'll bring out my what? Another if function again. Click on it because we said revenue greater than or what? Greater than or equals to 20 is what? Exceptional. Now, for that, now I'll just say if what's here is what? Greater than or equals to, greater than or equals to what? 20,000, comma. Otherwise, now don't forget you also fix this Fn F4, Fn F4. Bring your cursor here. Otherwise, give us the value. Now, this is the value. Close parenthesis. Now, what I did here was that now I make use of the what? If and like we did it here. Now, that means if what is here is greater than what? 15,000. Give us what? If it's greater than 15,000, less than 20,000, give it good. Since we want to make use of what? Another condition here, that what if it's greater than or equals to 20,000, give it what? Exceptional. That's why we are bringing out the what? If function again. That's for the what? For the if, and that's for the what? False. Now, if it is greater than what or equals to what? 20,000, you fix it now so that you can use it to calculate for the rest. If it is greater than or equals to 20,000, give it what? Exceptional. Sorry, give it exceptional in quotes. Exceptional. Exceptional, comma. Otherwise, give us what? This value. That means if it is not this, that means if it doesn't fall under the category of good and exceptional, give us that value back. Close the parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see if and is greater than or equals to this? Oh, I'm supposed to close two parentheses because I opened two brackets. Yes, it's right. Can you see now? This is not what? Now, if I drag down now, can you see? It has actually calculated for the rest. Now, this doesn't fall in the category of good and category of exceptional. That's why it's having the what? The value back. In a situation whereby it falls under the category of what? Exceptional, we'll be having exceptional here or good. That's why we have all these values back. Our formula is actually working. Now, let's calculate for this last column now. If you look at this question, revenue is greater than or equals to 20,000 or less than or equals to 15,000, then flag. In this case now, we'll use the what? Or function and the if. Now, for the or now, it talks either of what? Either. Talks either now. Now, that's what the or function talks. Now, let's bring out our formula now. If, click on it. Now, for your logical test now, we are using the if function and the or now. Or. Now, look at, check whether or any of the arguments are true. Now your are true, and then return true or false. Return false only if all arguments are false. Now let's check for that. Click on it. Now this is what we are using. If you said if it is greater than or equals to what? Or equals to 20,000. That's the first. Don't forget to fix it FN F4, comma. Now the second one says what? Or if it is less than or equals to what? 15,000. If it is less than or equals to what? Sorry, or equals to 15,000. This is 15,000 here. FN F4. Now close parentheses. Don't forget to do that, comma, before you now bring that. Then flag in quotes, flag, comma. Now else nothing. That's why we are putting double quotes. Close parentheses. Click on enter. Can you see now? Now let me bring my cursor here and drag it down. Now that's actually calculated for the rest. Now this is less than 20, is less than 15,000, but not greater than or equals to 20,000. But this is less than 15,000. That's why we have empty cells here. Can you see it? Can you see it now? That's why we have empty cells here. That's how to do that. Now let's take a look at another scenario here where we have what? Bigger formulas we are going to use inside here. Inside our logical text argument. Take note, whenever you have formulas inside your if function, it is easier to start with your core formula first. Now the core formula in this scenario now is my deviation. Now my core formula in this case is my what? Is my deviation. Now if you look at this question now, we have plus or minus 10% offset value. Now how do we calculate that? Now what we are calculating is plus or minus 10% offset value of this what? We have the actual revenue and the what? Budgeted revenue. That means this is our real revenue, what we actually what we have at and what we budgeted. Now let's see it now. To do this now, I'll just say equals to. Now this shift divided by this minus 1. Now click on enter. Can you see it now? I'll bring my cursor here, double click and let me undo. It's actually beyond the. Can you see it now? It has actually calculated for the rest now. Now you can see now, if you look at it, we have some negative signs here, minus 2.10%. That means what we budgeted is beyond what we actually have as revenue presently. Now look at this place now, we have minus 4.51%, 1.05%, minus 15.94%, and so on. Now if you look at this question now, the question says plus or minus 10% offset value. Now these ones now, you can see we have some, there are some here now that are beyond what we are actually calculating. That's 20.42%, 18.15%. Now I'll just leave this deviation. I'll come here now. Now to do this now, I'll just come here. I'll be using my what? If and what? And or. Click on it. Now in our or will come before the logical test. Now shift arrow. Click on it. Now our logical test will be this over this. Now comma, this is greater than 10%. Don't forget, that's what we have here, plus or minus 10% for the outset, comma. Now if it is greater than 10%, the next one now, if what we have here divided by this minus 1 less than minus 10%, hold your shift, percentage, close parenthesis. Since we have what? Two arguments in between, what? Either of what? Plus or minus. Now we will just say comma, that means value if false. Now if logical test value, if logical test value is true, or if logical test value is what, is false, that means what we have here divided by this minus 1 comma else give us what, nothing. That means if what we have here is plus or minus, if what we have here now, if it is greater than 10% or less than minus 10%, return the what, the actual value, this formula there, or else give us what, nothing. Now click on enter. Can you see now? Now if I bring my cursor here now, if I drag down now, can you see it has actually calculated for the rest. Now in a situation whereby it is what we have here now, before it is what, less than what, 10%. Is that we said what? The question is what? Less than plus or minus what? 10%. Look at our condition here now. If it is greater than 10% or less than minus 10%, those places where we have the minus now, minus 10%, and we have it now, that's actually returned this was this actual value we calculated, or else give us what, nothing. Now if you look at this now, can you see greater than 10%? This is greater than 10%. That's why we have a positive value here. Now this is also greater than what, 10%. That's why we have a positive value here. This is also greater than 10%. Can you see it now? And the second one says what, if it is less than or minus what, 10%. Can you see it now? Less than or minus what, 10%. Can you see it now? Else return the value. So that's why we have what, else give us what, nothing. That's why we have empty cells here. So that's how to do that. Now let's look at this last example under if function now. Now for the last one now, I'll be using a sign, a symbol to what, to represent this column now. Now let's go to insert, come to insert, click on symbol. Now you can use any symbol of your choice. Let me just use this insert, no, undo. Let me delete this. Let me bring it out here. Insert. Let me use it here. Click on insert. Let me also bring or okay, let me delete this. I don't want to use this. Let me bring out another symbol. Let me use this one, and for this cell, close. And for the second cell now, let me choose this, insert, close. Now let's insert our formula equals to if. Click on it. Now this will be our logical test divided by this minus 1 is greater than, we have greater than here, plus or minus 10% here. It is greater than 10%. Put your shift, put a sign of percentage, comma. Now give this sign F and F4, you fix it since you still do for the rest, comma. You bring out your if function again. If our logical test divided by this minus 1 is less than or minus what, 10%, comma. Now give this fn f4 comma else give nothing. That's why we put that double quote twice. How many parentheses I open? 2, 1, 2. Click on enter. Can you see now? If I drag it down now, you can see now it has actually calculated for the rest. The reason why we didn't have anything here is because what is less than what is actually less than or what minus 10, and we said what once it is less than what minus 10 should actually what give us what nothing. That's why we have nothing here, and for these ones we have what we have this sign here, and for the ones that are greater than what plus or minus 10 we have this here. So that's how to use your if or if and nested if and normal if condition. Thank you so much. Now let's see this average if now. Now the next thing we'll be discussing is the average if. Now in the case of the average if, now we'll have our range, we have our criteria, and we have our average range. Now let's look at some of the examples on this average range now. Now if we look at the question we have here now for this average if, we have here 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 18, 19, and so on and so forth. We have 2022, 23, 24, and we have their rate. Now we have been given the criteria as 2014. Now we want to calculate the average if for this year. Now I'll bring out my formula now. Average. Can you see now? Return the average of the absolute deviation of data points from their mean argument, and can be used and can be numbers or names, that means can be text or figures, arrays, that means the data range or data set you are working on, or references that you want to make reference to that contains the number or the text. Now let's see about let's bring out our formula now. Average if. Now what's our range? We have what 2014. Now where can we see 2014? This will be our range now. That's the year. Shift control arrow down, comma. Now criteria, you can just click on it here, comma. Now average range, we are working towards this rate. Now shift control arrow down, close parentheses, click on enter. Now the average of 2014 is what? Is 13.85. That's how to do that. Now let's look at the second question now. We have here, we have item name, and we have their total sales. Now we're being given to what? To calculate the average of what? 2022. Now how do we do that? Equals to average if. Now click on it. Now what will be our range? This will be our range. Shift control arrow down, comma. Now our criteria is average of what? 2022, comma. Now total sales, shift control arrow down, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now for 2022 is actually what? 69,125. That's for 2022. We have 2022 here. We have 2022 here. Where else do we have 2022? I think and here. Now if you calculate it now, you surely have this average. Now let's bring out an item name now. Let's say cooler. Let it be our criteria. Click on it. Now let's apply our formula. Average if, click on it. Now our criteria will be, where do we have cooler? This is where we have cooler. Shift control arrow down, that will be our range, comma. Now the criteria we are using is what? Is cooler, comma. Now average range, this will be our average range. These are the values we are working on, so that will be our average range. Shift, hold your parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now for cooler, we have cooler here 94,000, we have cooler here 65,000, we have another cooler here 84,500. Now if you calculate all those things now, you surely have this figure. That's how to make use of the what average range. Now the next one we'll be discussing now is the average ifs. Now where we can have more than 2 or 3 criteria we'll be working on. Now let's see how we go about that now. Like I said earlier, I said in the case of the average ifs now, the one with S, we have more than 2 criteria. We can have 3 criteria, 4 criteria, depending on the question. Now let's see how to do that now. Now we have been given this question, 11 grader from some good schools. Now these are the names of the students, Jacob, Mike, Jacob, and so on. Now these are the schools name now, random school, some good schools. Now these are their grade level now, grade 9, grade 12, grade 11, and so on. Now these are their students number and their test score. Now I want to what? I want to get this particular information now from this array now. That means grade 11 from some good schools. Now how do I do that now? This, if you look at this question now, it's more than what? More than 1 criteria, because grade 11, this is grade, this is 1, this is 1. Now some good schools, this is another criteria, that makes it 2. So we have 2 criteria here to make use of. Now I'll be using my average ifs, but in the case of a single criteria, I'll be using my what? Average if. Now let me bring out my formula now. Average ifs. Now click on it. Now our average range now. Now this text score now, these values now will be our average range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now reason why we're having it like this is because in the what? The data set is in the table format. Now our criteria range. Now what's our criteria range? Grade 11 now. Now where can we see that? This is where we can see that. That will be our criteria range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now you can just put 11 or click on anywhere you have 11 here, comma. Now criteria range 2, that will be for what? Some good schools. Where do you have, that's where we have the school names. Shift Control arrow down, that means it will bring it out from here, comma. Now some good schools, and just click on it, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? It has actually calculated the what? The average of what? Of those schools, some good schools, and also those that falls in the category of what? Grade 11. Now let's try one more example now. Average ifs, click on it. Now we have grade 12. This will be our, don't forget, this will be our average range now. Those values will be our average range, comma. Now criteria range 1. Criteria range 1 will be what? Will be your grade level. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now grade 12, right? Comma. Now criteria range 2 now. Our criteria range 2, that will be from what? From random schools. That will be under the school names. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now random school, close parenthesis. Now click on enter. Can you see now? That's how to calculate the what? For average ifs. Now the next one we'll be looking at now is the what? Is the COUNTIF. Now when we are talking about count actually counts only figures in Excel, but count A actually counts both figures and text together in Excel. But in the case of COUNTIFs only counts, it counts whether text or figure based on the criteria you use. Now let's see how to do that now. Let's bring out our formula. Let's say if equals to count if. Now count the number of cells within the range that meet a given condition. Now range, what will be our range? Let's say color. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now what criteria do we want to use? Let's say how many reds now. Now since this is a text, we'll put it in quotes, red. We'll quote it back at the back, close parenthesis, click on enter. You can see it now. How many red do we actually have here? This is 1 red, this is another red, that's 2. That's 3. So our formula is actually working. Now let me just bring it here. Criteria. Or you can still. Now for instance, now I want to know, let's say how many what? Let's say how many whites now. Whites. Now I'll just bring out my COUNTIF again. COUNTIF. Click on it. Now what's our range now? This will be our range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now our criteria, we are using white. It will be in quotes since it is text. White. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? We actually have what? How many whites here? 1 and 2. So our formula is actually working now. Now, for instance, now I want to work on what? On these figures now. I want to know how many numbers are actually greater than this 4 or greater than or equals to 4. Now, let's do that now. Equals to count if, click on it. Now, what's our way our range? Since we are on this will be our range now, comma. Now, since in quotes, since we are using a sign, shift greater than or equals to what? 4. Now, you quote it back, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? It has actually count those numbers now. If you look at my formula bar now, it has actually count those numbers that are greater than or equals to 4. Now let's see that now. This is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see our formula is actually what? Actually working. For instance, now if I want to say that, I can also say that what? I can also use it like this. Equals to count if, click on it. Now what's the range? Shift Control arrow down. Now, comma, in quotes, let's say red, in quotes, close parenthesis, minus, or let's say plus. I won't be bringing out my equals to sign again. Count if, click on it. Now what will be your range? This is still our range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now yellow or white, let's say white, in quotes, white, in quotes, close parenthesis. That means how many reds do we have? Add this together. Now click on enter. Can you see now? It has actually count for what? How many reds we have here? That is what? 1, 2, 3. And how many white? 1, 2. That makes 5. Now in a situation whereby I just want to say that what? Equals to count if, click on it. Now shift Control arrow down, comma, in quotes. That means let's say red, or let me say white, in quotes back, close parenthesis, minus count if. Now click on it. Now how many whites, or let me say how many gray? Shift Control arrow down, comma, in quotes, gray, in quotes, click on enter. Now we have what? White is 2, and what? Gray is 1. That makes it what? 1. So that's how to do the COUNTIF. And for the figures too, we can also do that. Bring it out, equals to count if. Now click on it now. Now this is our criteria range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now let's say what we have here, or better still, let me say less than, in quotes, since we are using this sign, we are using sign here, less than or equals to, let's say less than or equals to 4, in quote at the back, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? Those numbers that are less than or equals to 4 are actually 8. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's that. So anything you want to do on your COUNTIF, once you are using this sign, put it in quotes at the front and at the back. And if you are dealing with text, for instance now, I want to know the numbers that start with, I want to know the text that starts with, let's say P now, in this now. How will I do that? I'll just bring my COUNTIF. Now click on it. Now what will be our criteria range? Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now I said that start with M. Now I will now bring out my quote. Just observe. Quote. Now M. Now hold your Shift 8, close the quote, close parenthesis. You can see it now. Double quote, M, Shift 8, close that quote back and close parenthesis, click on enter. Sorry, we don't have any text here that starts with M. Now let me use, let's say R, Shift 8, and sorry, and R now. Click on enter. Can you see it now? Our formula is actually working. This is red, this is red, and also this is what? Red. These are the numbers that start with R now. We have 3 letters that start with R. Let me put it here. Start with R. Let me increase the cell length. Now let's say end with, let's say K now. End with K. Now equals to COUNTIF. Now the range, this will be your range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now the criteria, we are using that what? The end. Hold your quotes. Now since we said end, our shift, our asterisk now will come before the what? The letter. Will come before the letter K. Close the quotes, close parenthesis, click on enter. Now assuming we said that starts with, now that shift now will come after the particular letter, but the end with the Shift 8, that's the asterisk now. The asterisk will come before the particular letter. Take note of that. Can you see it now? So our formula is actually working. Now let me say 3 letters that end with, or let me say 3 letters that end with D. Click on enter. Now equals to COUNTIF. Click on it. Now our range. Now this will be our range now. Shift Control arrow down, comma. We said 3 letters that end with D now. In quotes. Now we'll be using question mark. We said 3 letters. These 2 letters, this question mark represent the first 2 letters now that end with D. Now we now bring it a D, in close the quotes, close parenthesis, click on enter. Now you see now 3 letters that actually end with D. Anything before that D, we represented it with what? With question mark. We don't need it. What we actually after is what? Letters that end with what? With D. Can you see red end with D? This is another one that ends with D, that's 2. And this is another one that ends with D, that's 3. So that's that. So that's everything under the count. Now also, if for instance now, look at this place now, we said numbers that are greater than what? That are greater than or equals to 4. For instance now, I want to say that what? If count if, click on it. Now what will be our range? This is our range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Let's say this is the criteria we are using, minus count if. Now click on it. This is our range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Let's say that they are what? Less than, in quotes, less than 4. 4 in quotes, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see? Oh, I opened, it should be 2 brackets. It's supposed to close the 2 parentheses. Can you see it now? Now, numbers that are greater than 9 and that are greater than 4, that they are 9. And the ones that are less than 4 now, it has actually taken them away. And what we have left is what? Is 3. So that's how to do that. Thank you so much. Now, the next thing we'll be discussing now is the COUNTIF function. Now, look at this question now. We have names: James, Stephen, Mattia, Phillips, Jacob, Linda, Davis. We have the region should be east, central, south, west, east. We have orders, we have revenue. Now, the question is east region with at least 400 orders. Now, in the case of the COUNTIFs now, you can have like 4 or 5 criteria as much as possible, depending on how you want. Depending on how you want to arrange your operations based on the data you are being given. Now, how do we do this now? Now, if you look at this question very well, now we have more than 2 words. We have more than 1 criteria. The first one says east region. Now, this is one region now. This is region now. This is one criteria from region, that's east. Now, with at least, that means the least we want here is what? 400 orders. This is another criteria, that's 2 now. Now, they said east region with at least 400 orders. How do we do that now? Let's bring out our formula. Equals to count ifs. Now, click on it now. What will be our criteria range? Where do we have east? This will be our criteria range. Now, Shift Control down. That's our region. That's our first criteria. Now, well, that's our first criteria range 1. Now, the criteria is what? East. You can bring it out in quotes. Since it is text, east, close quote, comma. Now, criteria range 2. That will be what? Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, we said with at least 400 orders in quotes. Since we are using sign, greater than or equals to 400. Close the quote, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? Now, the criteria range, or the first one, that's the region. From what you want to figure out from the region, that's east. Now, the second criteria range 2 is what? That's the orders. Now, greater than or equals to 400. The reason why we put it in quotes because we make use of this sign is more or less like a text. So that's why we put it in quotes. Can you see it now? And we click on what? We close parenthesis and click on enter. That's that. That's how to use your what? Your COUNTIFs. We have 2 criteria and bring out what? The criteria, and we what? Applied our what? Our function. Now, the next thing we'll be discussing is the what? SUMIF and the SUMIFS. What makes the SUMIFs different from the SUMIF is that in the case of the SUMIF, we'll be having 1 criteria and the range will come first, followed by the criteria and the criteria range. But in the case of the SUMIFs now, we can have as many as possible criteria depending on how your data set is being structured. Now, we can have like 2, 3 or more criteria now for the SUMIFs. Now, whereby we'll be having the sum range first, followed by the what? Criteria range, the criteria and all that. Now, let's look at this data I have here now. If you look at this data now, we have order ID, product, quantity. And the first criteria we are given here is what? Perfume. And the second criteria is what? Kenya. Now, let's look at this second data set now. We have what? Country, product, and quantity. We have perfume, we have Kenya, and all that. Now, let's apply our SUMIF function now. Equals to SUMIFs. Now, click on it. Now, our sum range now, this value will be our sum range now. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, criteria range 1. Now, our criteria range 1, our first criteria is what? Perfume. Now, where do we have perfume? This is where we have perfume. This will be our criteria range 1, comma. Now, criteria range. Sorry, that's our first criteria. Let me drag this up a bit so that, okay, or let me use the formula bar, comma. Now, the next thing is what? Second criteria. This will be our second criteria. That's our country. That's where we have Kenya. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, and the last one is what? Kenya. Now, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? If you actually check for Kenya, this is Kenya, where we have perfume, that's 500. This is another, this is another Kenya, that's 360. That's 500 plus 360, that makes it 860. The next one is what? 800 here, that's 1660. And the last one here, if you add everything together, you will be given what? This one Kenya here, perfume. This and that Kenya here, that makes it 1300. There's another Kenya here, perfume, 720. So 1300, that will make it 2020. And there's another EN perfume here, that's 2380. And there's another perfume here, that's 2880. So definitely our formula is actually working. Now let's check for another one now. For instance, now let's use another criteria. Criteria 1, criteria 2. Click on enter. Now, for the first criteria now, let's say wine. Now, our first criteria, let's say wine. Now, our second criteria, let's say Egypt. Click on enter. Now, we want our results. Click on enter. Equals to SUMIFs. Click on it. Now, what's our sum range? These values will be our sum range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, our criteria range now. Our criteria range 1, that's wine. Where do we have wine? That's under product. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Wine, comma. Now, what's our second criteria? Egypt. Where do we have Egypt? Other countries. Shift Control arrow down. That's where we have Egypt, comma. Now, and our second criteria is what? Egypt. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? our formula is actually working. Shift Control arrow right, arrow down. Let me centralize this. Now that's how to do that. If you now look at this second data set here now, if you look at this second data set now, it's quite different from this. We have Kenya underscore 0010 20490 underscore South Africa, and so on and so forth. Now, how do we go about this now? Now, just observe. Let's bring out our formula. SUMIF. Click on it. Now, the sum range. This will be our sum range. That will be Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, criteria range. We have perform, right? That's under product. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, criteria range 1. That's perform, comma. Now, criteria range 2. That's what? That's the order ID. That's Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now let's bring out our range, criteria, comma. Now that's our first criteria. Our second criteria now, that will be our order ID. That's where we can find Kenya. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now if you look at this data set now, this order ID, we have Kenya underscore 0010, like I said earlier. Now if you want to bring out the criteria now, before you bring out the criteria, you bring it out like this: quote, Shift 8, close the quote, and the criteria, quote, you quote at the front and at the back, Shift 8, quote at the back, and quote, Shift 8, close the quote, close parentheses, because we have some underscores and some numbers here. That's why we are putting it in that way. Close parentheses, click on enter. Can you see now? We actually get the same answer with what we have here. Can you see now? We have perfume, we have Kenya here, and we also have what? We have the same data here. Can you see the same data, but what was different was that was order ID, this was country. Now, and we have the same answer back. That's how to do that now. Now, in the situation whereby you want to look for another one, let's say you want to bring out Shift Control arrow down, Control C, copy, Control V, paste. Now, escape for that. Now, let's say wine. Now, click on enter. Now, let's say Egypt. Click on enter. Now, I want to check for our results. Equals to bring out your SUMIF again. SUMIFS. Click on it. Now, the sum range. This is where you have the values. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, criteria range. Where do we have wine? That will be under product. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now, this will be our criteria for the wine, comma. Now, order ID. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Don't forget, bring out your quote, Shift 8, quote it back at the back, and now the criteria 2, and again quote, Shift 8, quote, close parenthesis. Now, the reason why we are putting quote asterisk quotes and is because of the other ID, the way we have it in this format. That's why we are bringing it to here. So, and that criteria actually, the criteria we actually want to use. Click on enter. Can you see now? So we actually get 580. If we check for here also, you also get the same answer with that. Let's check for Shift Control arrow down, Control C, copy, Control V, paste, escape. Let's check for wine. Okay, we've done it. Actually, we've done it before. So can you see it? Wine. So we get the same answer. You can just check for anyone. You can. Now, if you look at this example too, we have months: January, February, March. We have products: shirt white, shirt blue, shirt yellow, and so on and so forth. We have country. We have Canada, UK for the country, and we have their sales revenue. Now, we want to check for what? Let's say February, and we have, let's say, shirt white. Double click to increase the cell length. Now, let's apply our what? Our formula. SUMIFS. Now click on the sum range. What will be our sum range now? The values. Shift Control arrow down. That's the sales revenue will be our sum range. Criteria range 1. Where can these are our criteria. Now for our criteria range 1, that means where will we reference this February to? Here. Shift Control arrow down, comma, February, comma. Now criteria range 2, that will be for what? White shirt. Where do we have that? Product. Shift Control arrow down, comma, this, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see? So for the month of what? February, the white shirt, the sales revenue was what? 2028. Now let's solve this question we have here. We have February, shirt white, Canada, and greater than 450. That means we are having 4 criteria. This is one criteria, this is another criteria, that's 2, 3, and 4. Now we'll be making use of our SUMIF now. Now let's start. Equals to SUMIFs. Click on it. Now our sum range, it will be this value now. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now criteria range, that is where we have February. That will be months. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now February, comma. Now the next one is what? White shirt. That will be under product. That will be our criteria range 2, comma. Now white shirt, comma. Now the third one is country. Shift Control arrow down, comma, Canada, comma. Now the last one is what? Greater than 450. That's where we have this value. Shift Control arrow down, comma, this, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? Those where we have white shirts for February, this one, that's 492. This is another one, which is Canada, 591. This is another one, 535. This is another one. Okay, sorry, this is UK. Okay, if we add all those things together, all those figures we have there together, we will definitely have what? 1618. Definitely our formula is actually correct. Now in this case of this, now where we have this greater than 450, there are 2 ways you can do it now. Now let's use the second way to do that. Now let's say we will be using the same criteria, but we will not be using this cell. Now in this, the second way now is that you will type it in that formula bar. Now look at something now. If I type 450 here normally here, where we have this greater than, now you can see it now. It has actually what? Unchecked this cell. Now if I just type it like this, that's 450. Sorry, 450. If I close parenthesis now, you will see it will surely give me error. You can see that's why it's giving me 0. Now but if I return it back now, if I open the parenthesis now and click back here, close parenthesis, click on enter, you can see now it has actually given me what? The value back again. Now if I now click this now, If I delete it and put it in what? In quote, greater than, quote it back, and that 450, that's the value. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? It actually give me back the value. Now these are the second ways you can do it, because this sign is more or less like a text. So that's why we are putting it in what? In quote at the front and at the back. Now let me uncheck this. Let me clean this and use this. Let me close parenthesis and click on enter. Now let me try it here. Let's say match. Let's check for match. We have yellow. Okay, let's just check for match. Shirts. Yellow. Let's check. Let's say Canada. Now, for the fourth criteria, we'll be using it in that way. Let's say greater than 400. Now let's bring out our formula now. Let's say equals to SUMIFS. Click on it. Now this will be our sum range where we have the sales revenue. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now your criteria range, that's for the what? Months. Now Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now this is our criteria range. This is our criteria 1, comma. Now criteria range 2 now. That will be where we have this what? Shirt yellow. That's under product. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now the yellow shirt, comma. Now Canada, that's the what? That's under country. That's our third what? Criteria range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now Canada, comma. Now for the what? Fourth criteria now that we actually want to use, Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now I want to type it in my formula bar here. That will be in quotes, greater than, close the quotes, and that value we're actually talking about 400. Let's say greater than 400 now. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? The last what criteria, we actually stated there that what? It must be greater than what? 400. We don't want anything less than what? 400, or actually 400, but must be what? Greater than 400. In the situation where I said greater than or equals to 400, that means even though we have 400 there, it will surely give us what? It will surely give us the answer as from 400 upward. So that's that on the SUMIF. Now let's see the what? SUMIF now, the one with no S. Now for the SUMIF, we will be using this what? Let's use this criteria now. We'll be using these criteria one after the other. Now let's start. SUMIF. Now click on it. What will be our range? Our range, what are we actually looking for here? Our criteria is perform. This is our what? This will be our range. Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now this is the criteria we're actually looking for, comma. Now sum range, that's the value we actually have here. That's the value. Shift Control arrow down. For the quantity, close parenthesis, click on enter. You can see it now. All the performs we actually have here: 500 here, 540, 600, 360, 720, 575, 800, 120, and 500. That's actually give us the what? The answer. Now let's say for Kenya, equals to SUMIFS. Click on it. SUMIF. Now what will be our range where we have the country? Here, Shift Control arrow down, comma. Now what's the criteria? This, comma. Now sum range where we have this value. Shift Control arrow down, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? All the Kenyas we have, for the value of Kenya, we have 500 for Kenya. That's for the quantity. We have another one here, 425. We have another one here, 350. We have another one here, 425, 720, 500, 800, and 500. You can see now, if you calculate all those figures together now, our formula is actually correct. Now let's look at this last example now before we round up. Now we have what? We have shoe, we have bag, we have pen, sander, razor, bag, cotton, and pen, shoe. Now for the shoe we have $30. For the bag we have $45. For the pen here we have $60. We have sandals will be what? $67. For this eraser we have $76. For the bag we have $98 here, $123, cotton, pen, and so on. Now I want to make use of my sum if. Now I want to know the what for bag. I want to actually sum up all where we have bags together. Now we can have a very bulky data than this. Now let's apply our formula now. Equals to sum if, click on it. Now what will be our range? Shift Control arrow down where we have all the values, comma. Now what are we actually looking for there? Bag. That's our criteria, comma. Now where is our sum range? These values now. Shift Control arrow down, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? For the value of all the bags now, we have what? $266. If you add this 45 with this 98 and 123, we will surely have this what? Have this 266. That's for bags. Let me bring it out. Now let's say for pen. Now let's try this. Now for pen now, let's sum if, click on it. Now what will be our range? Shift Control arrow down where we have those what values of those items we're actually looking for. Where we have the names of all the items we're actually looking for. That's our range, comma. Now what's our criteria? Is this pen, comma. Now what's our sum range? Where we have those values. Shift Control arrow down, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? The value of those pen is what? Is $183. Now if you bring it, if you check it here, that's $60. If you check it here, $123. $123 plus $60, that makes it $183. Now the next thing we'll be discussing is the if error. Now this if error returns a value you specify if a formula evaluates to an error, otherwise it returns the result of the formula. Now you get to understand with the aid of example. If you look at this asset I have here, we have names, we have hire date, we have salary, sales, date worked, sales efficiency. Now for this sales efficiency now, I'll be calculating that with what? I'll be using my sales and the days work to calculate the sales efficiency. Now how do I do that now? Equals to, now this cell divided by this, click on enter. You can see now, if I bring my cursor here now, if I double click, it has actually dragged down. Now this is where the error comes in. Now you can see we have div over 0, div over 0, and div over 0. How do we go about this now? How do we overcome this? Now if you look at where we have this div over 0 now, you can see now there's no sales here and there's no days worked here. Look at this place also, there's no sales here and there's no sales here, there's no days work here. Now the reason is that probably this person has yet to start work. Now even though if I want to calculate my average efficiency, just observe average, click on average. Now the numbers I want to use, let's say shift control arrow up. Now close parenthesis, click on enter. You can see now it also give me that div over 0 now. Now how do we overcome this now? This is where our if error comes in. Now before I bring my if error in now, I can just come here, shift control arrow down, and just reduce these decimals probably to 2 decimal place. Can you see? Now let me bring my if error formula now. I'll bring it here. If error, click on it. Now come here, comma. Now you can see it's asking me value if error. That means what value did I actually want to use if there is an error. Now I will just, let me say 0 now. Give me 0 anywhere we have an error. Close parenthesis, click on enter. Now I'll bring my cursor back here. I'll double click or drag down. Can you see now? Where we were having div over 0 for the average efficiency now, it has actually changed to what? 0.96851. Now, and where we have no sales and no what days worked also, it has actually changed to 0, and this has actually changed to 0.00, and this also for the third one. This is the first one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. Now in a situation whereby I want to change that now, in a situation whereby I want to change what we have here, this 0 to text, now I can also use text, bring it out, come to my formula bar, clear this parenthesis. Now where we have that 0, I can just change it, bring your quotes. Now let's say no record. No record. Close the quotes, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see it now? If I bring my cursor back here, if I double click down, can you see anywhere we have it now? Let me drag down for the last one. Anywhere we have that 0 now, that actually give us what? No record. In a situation whereby you are using text to what? To replace it now, those your value if error now, you put it in what? In quotes, and you close the quote at the end. Now another thing I would like to show you is that if you come to this average now, in a situation whereby I don't want to, let me undo the last action now. Now where we have this div now, you can just come here also, you can bring out your if error here too. If error, now click on it. Now this is your value, comma. Now what do you actually want to use for your what? Value if error. Now you can just bring a text now and say, probably let's say quote, determine it from above, in quotes, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? That's actually what? Change, instead of giving me div over 0 here. Now, and for this place now, you can come back here. Now bring out your if error again. Click on it. Now come back here, comma. Now for your if error, you can use 0. That means give me 0 anywhere we have error. Click on close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see now? And for this place also, you can just come back here also, click on and bring out your if error function. Now click on it, comma. Now 0, close parenthesis, click on enter. Can you see? Likewise this place also, can bring out your if error, click on it, comma, 0, close parenthesis, click on enter. Any which one you use, you are fine with your what? With it. Just know how you do what? You determine your if error function.
Now I believe you are able to learn one or two things in this lesson. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Once I drop a new video, you get notified, and also drop your comments on each of my videos you watch, and also give us a like. Thank you so much. I remain your humble instructor, Kola. Thank you. Bye for now.